The Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Our whole universe was in a hot, dense state that nearly 14 million years
From the International Centre of Radio Astronomy Research, astrophysicist Leah Kalimeris joins us.
Leah.
Morning.
Leah.
Astrophysicist is just an impressive title.
I feel like I know everything about your job because of Raj Koothrappali from Big Bang Theory.
Is that accurate?
A little bit, I would say. Not so much my job. I like to talk to people about space, so I get really excited about that.
Yeah, because Raj can't talk to girls. Sorry.
Then when he gets drunk.
Leah, were you always interested in the sciences when you were at school? Because a lot of times, I mean, I can only just go back to my time in school. I glazed over many a day. So how did you stick at it?
Science has always been an interest of mine, but it's interesting when I look back at, when I was a high school student, I didn't realise I was that interested in science. I actually wanted to be a vet when I was in high school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went on a very wibbly-wobbly path, as I like to say. I don't think space was a strong passion of mine, and it was something that I developed as I got older, and I'm like, oh my God, that's an amazing job. I want to learn more about the universe, and here I am
The
today.
amazing thing about it is we are now in a different realm with space because people are looking at it as where we're going next. And people are planning on where we're going next. So we're in that zone. Is it so interesting at the moment? And do you see these plans for colonisation on Mars and stuff coming to fruition?
It's a good question, and I think, yes, at some point, yes. But I think the big sort of hurdle that we have to jump past is to get humans back on the moon. It's something that we did like 50 plus years ago now.
And that's what people's conspiracy theories.
Why is that? I think we've asked that question before. I still don't get it.
It's just technology and the limitation of resources as well, because as we evolve...
Yeah, but 50 years ago, I mean, we could do it a heap cheaper.
Yeah, but it was a very high priority back then.
Yeah, it was all about...
It was about being in Russia.
Wouldn't you think you'd be going up there every second day?
And that's why the conspiracy theorists said, well, you never went there because you never went back.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we went up there, there was nothing.
Yeah. But they went a few times.
I mean, what are we going to do with this moon rock, for God's sake?
Yeah, they went
No
5
money in it?
times.
5 times.
It's not like
Once you've been
Avatar
5
when they were drilling
times,
that
you're
power.
like, it would be enough.
Come on. I've been to Hong Kong 4 times. Not a problem. I'm going to go back.
Leah, can I ask you about astrology? And I know this has been...
Astronomy.
Astronomy.
Yes.
There is a big difference, Shaun.
Gemini. Aquarius.
You must have to make that distinction a lot.
Bit, yeah.
Well, because on Channel 7 News, at the end of it, they for some reason start reading the astrology.
It's a new thing, yeah.
That's not real, is it?
No.
Wow, the amount of psychics right now that are putting a spell on you.
My wife's going,
sorry, but-
you're an Aquarius. That means, it's not real.
I mean, when you think about how far away the planets, the stars, the movement of the moon and everything, to think that has an influence on each of every individual lives. When you think about we have, 7-8 billion people on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just trust that the stars are doing what they're doing and they have no impact on us.
Cool.
And also, if you think that you're living by astrology, Google your star sign and then put murderer next to it and then see that they're the same as you. They're a Gemini too.
And if you, you've divided the world into 12 distinct things and that the same characteristics fall in exactly those.
No, but people are buying it left, right and centre.
Now, I'm worried about something about the future, right? Now, because we have ruined this planet, and that's why we're looking to leave it and go somewhere else. I'm frightened that when we go out there and start effing around with other planets, we're going to ruin them as well.
I mean,
what's the deal with all the money? Because they're looking at the money that's probably going to be given to get up there in the future will be private companies that want to get the resources, and they're the only ones that are going to be able to afford to do that and then bring them back. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we have to learn the lessons from here on Earth. We can't. It's such a huge responsibility to then go to another planet and think, oh yeah, we can do whatever we want. I don't know, and I think that sort of like private companies and resources is something that we're seeing a lot today as well, particularly with all of the satellites and everything going up, which is great. But also, as an astrophysicist and an astronomer wanting to look at space when there's all these satellites in the way,
not dig.
Yeah, it just becomes a bit of an issue. And then you go to the next step and go with more and more satellites going up every day. One of those maybe might accidentally have an issue, collide into another one, and then they take out the whole system because one creates collision and goes onto there. These are all things we have to be really, really responsible with. Space is amazing, but if you don't take that responsibility with it, you do have some issues that go forward. Yeah, exactly.
There's a couple of documentaries I saw on it. One was Avatar. Obviously, you go to another, and you start digging another country and taking, what is it? Was uranium or something?
No, it was unobtainium.
Unobtainium. See what happens then?
That documentary, Avatar.
Yeah. But I spoke to our Australian astronaut just recently about the show. What was it called again? I watched it all the time. It's a space show. It's on Apple TV, and they're colonising space.
Oh yes, the Russian thing.
For all mankind.
Yeah,
it's bloody amazing.
Love it.
Do you think that is a true indication of what could possibly happen in the future? Because that's what I think. I think it's bang on.
Yeah, I think there are hints of reality there, because as well, space, the resources that you need to get to these planets and these spaces, individual countries can't do it by themselves.
No.
You need to be able to pull together, and it can't be a competition. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So funny. Olivia Rodriguez the other day was interviewed, and they were talking about red flags, and she said that her red flag, a question she'll ask even before she dates anyone, and she'll ask the man if he's ever wanted to go to space, and if he says yes, she doesn't date them. What do you think? Is there something egomaniac about going up to space? What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just a keen interest to see what else is out there. For me personally, I'd rather stay in the ground. And it's funny because you say that and I go, that would be my red flag to go, they will probably leave at some point and may never come back.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah,
there's that.
Talk about ghosted.
Doesn't make for a great relationship.
Leah, knowing all this stuff, how much does it help us with technology and development going in the future, the stuff that you do?
So much. I mean, an incredible
Great
amount.
Question.
Like when you think about even with the Apollo missions, just how much technology fed back into the economy and to the resources that we have now.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as like Velcro that came from the Apollo mission.
Velcro.
Velcro, yeah.
But now even more so as we develop technology further and further, things like Wi-Fi and that sort of stuff as well, that all came from astronomy research.
Really?
Hey, I want to know about life out there. Do you think life out there? We've seen in the past, there's been some pulses that astrophysicists have picked up on that they say could not be naturally made. Do you think there's life out there?
Personally, for myself, I look at the weight of numbers. The weight of numbers is the thing that gets me. I look at the fact that we are in a solar system full of 8 planets. We're then in a galaxy full of, nearly 400 billion stars, and most of those have planets around them. And then you go bigger again, and you go, we are just one galaxy and hundreds of billions of other galaxies in the universe.
So it's unlikely we're the only one.
Populated.
Has to be a probability.
Who are they?
But also, just think,
they're so
space
far
is big.
away.
Exactly. Yeah.
We will never encounter them.
Maybe not. I'd like to think in my lifetime, maybe at some point we might see some sort of hint of it. But the reality is space is very
So you don't think aliens are visiting or have visited our planet?
I don't want to come on here and squash astrology and UFOs and aliens and stuff, but no, I don't think so either.
Yeah. Could we handle it?
We could handle it, Sean. You know that energy drink ad where you see a better version of you comes up?
Yes.
As long as they're not better than us. Because
I think there's every chance that's
I mean, if they get to us first, they're obviously better than us. Yeah, it'll just be a lot realising, okay, we're
really underachieved here.
We're the slots. You are so interesting.
Yes.
When people find out about your job, are you just bombarded with questions wherever you go?
Yeah, I do. And again, it's my job. I love talking to people about space. So I think on the flip side, they're at risk of just being stuck with me in a room for an hour as I talked about anything and everything space.
So you're clearly a great communicator, but are you a researcher too? Are you actively?
Not currently.
Yes.
I did research in the past, but now it's mostly focused on.
Research boring, really.
No,
you see it on TV and you're wearing glasses and there's a montage and then you have a sandwich and then it's like, thinking, tap, tap, tap.
Yeah, and then discovered
not
something.
For me. I mean, the research that I did was just looking at endless pictures of galaxies, and that never gets boring.
Wow. It's like screensavers in the computer. If you want to hear more of this...
That's right. Astrofest is where it's all happening at Curtin Stadium. So this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, so get down there and see it. There are heaps of talks and space domes, telescopes, the whole lot.
Yeah.
So get down to
And there will be guaranteed first contact.
Oh, yes. A lot for your books.
Not making that promise.
Leah is distancing herself from that statement.
Yeah, it'll be a mother contacting a book for the first time and getting all the bubbles out with pins.
100%.
So if you want to see that, Google Astrofest and we'll see all of the details there. Leah Kalimeris, thank you so much for coming in and joining us
Leah.
today.
Thank you so much.
Astrophysicist, everybody.
The Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Oh, there it is. All right, time to cross to the United States catch up with Channel 7 US correspondent doing a great job, working very hard at the moment. David Woiwod, good morning.
Morning, team.
David. Now,
it's a bit
David, this is full on. I've been watching all the city workers barricading various buildings in preparation for either person to win, because they said that it's going to be a Tinder fire and it's going to break out. They're preparing for that. Do you think that is a possibility?
It's definitely on the cards. We've been warned by multiple law enforcement agencies in the previous weeks and months, actually, leading up to this election, that, it's really on the cards. We've seen that increasingly darker rhetoric as well from the former US President Donald Trump, and a number of his supporters have sort of echoed those calls as well. Now, that is not to say that something will happen. Like, we have no idea at this point. Voting has just closed in a number of those states. Kentucky and Indiana at the moment, there is still so many... there's still so much to run in today's election, and we just have no idea. What we have, though, seen from Donald Trump is in the past few moments, guys, he's just started sort of rolling out a little bit of that 2020 playbook, sort of sowing that doubt with the result. He's claiming that there are scenes of mass cheating in Pennsylvania, one of those incredibly important battleground states. Law enforcement there have said that they've had no reports of that, and they have no evidence of that either. So we don't really know what is going on, but certainly Donald Trump, it would appear online, is starting to pick up elements that we saw back in 2020.
He's doing the same thing again, and there's investigation into that. How can you do the same thing again? Everyone watch the same thing happen again, and no one step in to do anything? Because really saying that you can't trust the result if it doesn't go his way is getting his people ready.
It's completely wrong, because you are saying, you're right, Nathan, you're inciting it. I can't believe you've got a situation in America where you don't have to be registered to vote. Like, you can just be anyone.
You do have to register to vote.
No, in a lot of states, not allowed
You have to be
IDs
registered,
Now, is it right, David?
you have to be registered.
Bella, who works with us this morning, said something interesting. I didn't know this. So if you are a convicted felon or whatever, so you got a record, you can't vote, but yet he can be president.
But you can become president.
So he can't vote, but he can become president.
But he did vote, didn't he? I saw footage of him voting.
I don't know. Bella was telling me this morning.
It must be a state by state.
He has voted today. He was down in Florida and he cast his ballot in West Palm Beach today.
Right.
Yeah, he is a convicted felon, but I think that what you'll find there is that it's a state-by-state issue, so he can actually vote in Florida. He is allowed to. So,
like when Sean murdered all those people in Queensland.
I mean, as soon as you move over here, no one sees it on the record. David, I wanted to ask you, a couple of weeks ago, we had a great chat to you, and a great chat. Well, we were taking in what was going on in Florida back then, and there was funny typhoons, and the whole world was... What's worse? You've gone from one to the other.
Yes, a hurricane or an election.
Hurricanes don't have guns.
I don't know if I'd rather be blown around by a hurricane or being blown around by some of the idiotic things that I've heard over the past 3 weeks, having travelled this campaign now, like some of the things that I've heard. And look, at both campaigns, but particularly at the Donald Trump campaign, in fact, one lady had said to me in North Carolina, and we were having a good old chat, she was fine. She was a conservative voter. She was a Republican, and she had those conservative values, and I totally understood that. But it was when she said to me, you know what Joe Biden's doing with the weather. Obviously, he's controlling the weather, and that's when she kind of lost me.
This is the thing.
Controlling
so they're
the weather.
blaming the Democrats for hurricanes now.
But this is the thing, though. You can understand that, because you've got Donald Trump up there, and he's just been saying that, Oprah Winfrey wanted to be my vice president. She wrote me a letter a few years ago. Straight away, without knowing anything about the situation, they're completely on opposite sides of the political spectrum. That would never have happened. So, David, how can somebody being a presidential nominee get up there and just spread such bullshit that people know at the time and then later fact-checking his lies, and then still have a whole crowd of people?
There are no repercussions for it.
If you can't believe, how can you choose what to believe and what he says? It's crazy, hey?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a question better for the 80 million or so people that are expected to vote for him today. And it's a full-time job having to fact-check Donald Trump. And we do it during just about every speech that he does. Yeah. And especially if you take one live, you then have to come off the back of it and go, well, this is wrong. This claim was actually false. This is misleading. That is incorrect. That was not found to be true. And this is on a lot of his major policy platforms as well. So claims like, violent crime has never been higher in the United States. That is not true. Well, we're going to start fracking and drilling for oil because it's certainly not happening under the Biden administration. That is not true. He's had a couple of positions on abortion as well. He's kind of loose with the truth, and that is no surprise. But there's still 80 million Americans who that resonates with.
Yeah, so that's a problem right here.
Is a problem.
Because you got a hard left and a hard right, and there doesn't seem to be any middle ground. And then you've got two people where you go, you wouldn't vote for either. But it seems like most people are turning out to go, I'm either going with him or I'm going against him. But it's not actually for, people having policy and good for the country. It's either I don't want him or it seems all on him is what I'm getting at.
You think that they're either going to be voting for or against Donald Trump?
I don't think they're turning out to go for Kamala. I just think they're going, I do not want him to be president, so I'm going to vote, or I'm going to be the other way. That's how I'm kind of viewing it, which is not a great place to be.
Yeah, I just understand when someone's up there.
Especially not for the Democrats who would like to pride themselves on believing that they have a real policy platform here. But, Kamala Harris, she's in a pretty difficult position. Joe Biden held on for a lot longer than he probably should have, according to a lot of Democratic hardheads.
Yeah.
He held on. He sort of nobbled her from the start. She had 107 days just to sort of turn this thing around. But she's also trying to cast herself as the candidate of change. Now, that's incredibly difficult when you are the sitting vice president. So all the problems in the country can sort of be attributed back to you right now.
Yeah, but I can see that.
I mean,
she had an old
vice president doesn't
she had an old white man in the way. And as we've seen from Veep, the president sometimes can completely ignore the vice president. They can live completely two different worlds.
They have no sway.
I don't know what the media... I don't know if we're getting a certain representation of what's happening in America from the media, but you're on the ground, David, right? So when you're speaking to these Trump supporters, because what we see is a bunch of clowns, right? And they're the ones that will make it to the news.
Of course.
But generally, what is what we're seeing a true representation of them?
No, it's probably the worst of the worst, and they're the ones that do grab the headlines. There are just so many country club Republicans. There are people that, as I was saying, I thought that lady was in North Carolina the other day, but there's just a lot of people with conservative values that probably align quite similar with the Liberal Party in Australia, and so there are a lot of those kind of voters that are probably turned off as well by elements within their own party, as we know that there are Liberal voters in Australia that are turned off by elements within their own party as well. So they're kind of all lumped into the same barrel at this stage. But, you see a lot of the nuttier ones. And, look, a lot of those nuttier ones, we would call them that. They have got their own faction within Congress as well. I'm talking about the Marjorie Taylor Greene and your Matt Gateses as well. And, look, they're holding the party in some respects to ransom. And we saw that during the speaker process. And this is probably getting in the weeds of it. But just very quickly, they couldn't elect a Speaker of the House because this very small faction of ultra-right-wing radicals in some way were kind of holding the party to ransom over that position.
Wow.
That hasn't changed in Australian politics too far as well.
But if they got their way, though, alfoil sales go through the roof. The amount of hats are being made.
David, we're thinking of you, mate. You're going to be working all night long, I'd imagine.
David, you know what? You explain things well to us dummies. You're great. Thanks, mate.
You're not dummies, guys. You're on the top of it.
David, honestly, we had people pick the horse they thought were going to win Melbourne Cup yesterday. Who do you, being on the ground there, who do you think's going to win?
Do you know what? I've done so many of these radio interviews, and that is always the question.
I know, but what do you think?
Just no idea. Like, I've got no idea. I can't put my finger on it right now. It's just one of the... It's going to go either way.
It's going to go either way.
But it seems like you just mentioned, if Trump's saying stuff right now that we're led to believe that he's saying, well, it's controversial already and I don't believe it, then his team must think they're not going well.
Well, I know. I just think he does that. He does that.
I know.
That's just an insurance
he does that to hedge his bets.
I don't think that's the case either, because what we're also seeing from Kamala Harris in the past few hours is she is still tweeting and she is still actually hitting the phones. Her team is still actively hitting the phones. It's only a couple of hours worth of voting right now in Pennsylvania. That is the key state, really, for the Democrats to get to the White House. And she is now saying, still, go get your mum, your dad, your neighbour, your dog walker, get them to the polls right now. So you could probably read into panic from both sides.
Stay safe, please, because we want to keep talking to you.
We'll be looking out for you on Channel 7 News. Thanks so much for talking to us, David.
Talk soon, guys.
Bye, David Woiwod from Channel 7.
It's the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Do you want to hear the whole story?
I'd love to hear it, actually.
And what I love about this right now is Shaun and I have not adjusted our chairs. So
we're looking down
at you. The desk is lower, but we are refusing. We're like in two high chairs at McDonald's with our parents.
Oh, I thought it was like I'm sitting on the floor and you're going to tell me a story. So this is a story of a girl that fell off her bike.
Oh, this is great. So Nicole
Saturday,
Kidman.
Yeah, exactly. BMX bandit. So I've got an e-bike and I'd ridden down to catch up with some friends for a couple of drinks, had a couple of rosés, riding home. It's dark.
Yeah.
I've got a helmet on. There's a light built into the bike anyway, so that's, you know,
Her
safety
helmet's got
first.
Viking horns on it. It's great.
Yeah, it's not far from that. It is a bit of a novelty helmet, but it is, you know,
that's great.
Australian standards. And riding along, and I think what I think happened, because of course it happened so quickly, is that I hit something on the road, probably a rock or something,
Turtle.
and then because it's an e-bike, I kind of swerved, but as you push down, it's the e-bike. Yeah, it responds to and then I hit the curb and it tipped me off.
So you're catapulted, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've fallen off. I've got back up, dusted myself off, got back on, rode home, and then lift. I have to carry the bike up some stairs. It's quite heavy because it's an e-bike. Managed to do that. Got home, fed the dog. It's all good. And then I've gone to bed thinking, it's a bit sore. And I woke up at about 5:30 and thought, I need to go to the toilet. And my house is very long. So the distance I've got a really long hallway. And then you've got to go through the lounge room and then around the corner into the bathroom. And the toilet's at the far end of the bathroom. And this is a really long way. And I couldn't walk.
You just went to
just
bed?
going.
It's the only course of action, though, isn't it?
So
you got to give it to him.
You know what I mean?
So I literally clutching the wall. I'm stop kicking me, Sean.
Sorry, Nat, I do apologise.
Trying to manoeuvre my way down to the bathroom, and I finally get there. I go to the toilet, and then when I went to get up, the other thing is I have low blood pressure, right?
Yeah. Oh, do you go all dizzy?
Yeah. So I've stood up, gone dizzy, gone to grab at the basin, and because my left arm was too sore, no grip strength,
so
I've fallen onto the floor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally get it.
Did you have clothes on? You know my nightmare. My nightmare is being naked and passing out in the bathroom and not having enough strength to put a flannel on your doodle or your mini
I had knickers on. That's it.
And just it, Natalie.
That's it. That's it. And so then I'm just lying on the bathroom floor thinking, I can't get up. I can't get up. So I just lay there for a while and to regain my strength and have a think about what I was going to do. So then I'm just lying there and so I managed to maneuver myself just like by literally imagine walking with your butt, with your legs straight out in front of you. I thought if I can get into the lounge room, I can get myself onto the couch and then I might be able to push myself up from there, which I got onto the couch and then I just lay there for a while. And my phone, meanwhile, in the bedroom, which might as well have been 10 miles away at this point.
Can I just stop you here? Do you sort of wish that you just had weed in the hallway and just mopped it up the next day? Just like a dog, because dogs do it.
I never had that thought process, Nathan. And then I thought I need to, it's really sore at this point. I need to take something for this. And so I then managed to get up and shuffle back into the bathroom. And I'm going through my cupboards to find out what sort of painkillers I had. Couldn't find any.
So you took 2 Baroccas.
No, Nathan, I found some painkillers that were given to me when I had my gastric sleeve surgery. And on the label it said for fast relief of acute pain.
Oh, bang.
And I never needed them after my surgery. So I'm like, okay, this is good to go. So I popped a couple of those and went and lay down on the couch. The problem was, one, they're 2 years old. 2, I hadn't eaten anything. They just made me throw up.
And then
so
you had
then
to go
I'm
to the
throwing
bathroom.
up.
You had to go back to the bathroom.
Dragging your ass along the wooden
At
floors.
that point, did you just want to throw up on the floor?
A little bit. I didn't, though. I managed to get in there. It's amazing the power that you can overcome pain when you're about to throw up.
No, you know what it is? Sean, you want to get this? The power that you can summon when you're single. When you've got no other chance of anyone helping you and you have to do it, you don't understand the things we go through.
No, I think this is... I was just thinking about you being single in this circumstance now, but if I would have a house full of people
and they still wouldn't help you.
Get any help. So what's sadder?
Your kid's playing PlayStation, you're crawling, dragging yourself by the arms to the hallway.
Help me. So at about 10:30, so this is quite some time later, I just lay on the couch for quite a while. I managed to summon the strength to get back to the bedroom to get dressed and also to get my phone to then text a mate. I've got one mate who has a key and I'm like, she came and got me and took me to the hospital.
Good.
Yeah, great times. Where I threw up in her car, threw up in the triage area of the hospital and threw up once I'd got through as well. I'm like, don't take medication on an empty stomach. stomach's a bad idea.
Now, I think that this is a good time for everyone to realise that if you have an old person in your street, you should always just pop in and check on them. I know. I'm not saying you're old. I'm just saying the fact.
A little bit.
The fact that, like, you falling down and stuff like that. Imagine an old person on you. You've got
Which
strength.
they do.
Yes,
Which they do.
You've got strength. If they fall over in their house and they are there by themselves, what are they going to do?
Yes, well, my neighbour, Tracy, she did text me last night to say, you all right? And I'm like, this is 2 days later. Thanks for your help.
What's it going to do?
She said, we noticed that you hadn't gone to work the last couple of days.
No,
'cause
2
my
days
car was
later
wet.
it means that her face has been eaten off by pets.
No, I want to ask you the mo because you fast forward through the part we actually stacked it. When you
Yes.
hit the deck, were you like, oh my God, or you're more embarrassed? Or
It was
something?
more like, just get up and get going.
Okay.
Yeah, because it, like that, those sorts of things, the
Did
pain
anyone
doesn't
see?
hit you. No, there was no one around.
That's
So
good.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to have to get up and like pretend that everything's cool.
Yeah,
yeah. You know that
everything's cool. I planned that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
embarrassing.
just dusted myself off and got on with it, Sean, because I'm a trooper.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Well,
What
that's
a
very
hero.
good.
Hero.
that's very
Hero's
good.
the word.
Yeah.
Hero?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
hero.
if you have to go to the toilet again, just go.
I'm just going to start leaving a bucket by the bed. Nathan.
I'm going to Bunnings afterwards.
I mean, good old-fashioned chamber pot's got something to be said for it, doesn't it?
It does too. Love it.
Nathan, Nat, and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.